A disgrace. A pensioner in her 70s has days left to find a new rental in Tauranga.
Hang on. We were promised downward pressure on our rent. That was said a lot before the election. Downward pressure, wasn't it?
Yep, absolutely none. Some of the highest rents in the country. There is nowhere for this woman to go. I want people to get real comfortable with seeing elderly people that are homeless and living on the street.
Gosh.
We might not see it for a while because obviously family members do what they can. This woman in this story, her personal situation is she's bouncing around the houses of her kids because they're all full-time workers and they can't look after her. So they're sharing the burden. That is not... What would that do to the mental health and the physical health of this woman?
Yeah.
At what point does she end up living in a caravan down the back of someone's section? At what point, as we head here in Dunedin, does she end up living in a tent on the side of a cricket pitch next to a motorway? And as we head in Dunedin, they die alone in a tent. Is that what we want? If I was to believe what I'm seeing on Facebook, if that's what I'm seeing in the replies to my comment on a Radio New Zealand story on Instagram, there's a big chunk of our population that is like, well, yeah, they should have worked harder. They should have saved better, or more to the point, they should never have had bad luck in the first place.
Yeah. Don't have, I mean, it's your luck is your fault. It is also that idea of there, but for the grace of God, go I. The people you're talking about don't have an issue and their parents are fine as well. I've recently had a mate, and it's actually been publicised on the news. You know Frank Ritchie? Yeah, he's been on the show with us a couple of times before. He had, I don't know the whole details. People can actually look it up. They've done stories on this. His daughter had a significant health issue that couldn't get treated in New Zealand, so they fundraised $120,000. They got given $120,000 on Give a Little, and they took her to Germany to get the treatment that she needed. And I'm pretty much down with the New Zealand health system, and it's pretty good, but when you get to experience, and I haven't experienced, just watching Frank's story about the holes in it and the gaps in it, that's when you get empathy for what's not there. People of wealth, people of income, people of means, who maybe if their parents are still here, they might be quite comfortable in a retirement village, maybe they've got their own house and they keep living, but it's once they experience something that's not of their world, that's what brings empathy. That's why so many people whose parents or partners die of cancer, they say, in lieu of flowers, please donate X to such and such cancer society, because they experience it. And people who have means, people who are well off, people who are privileged, don't experience what we're talking about, so they have no empathy for it. Now, an empathetic person can not experience something and still have empathy for it, but there seems to be a sector of society, I'm not watching the chat, maybe some of them are in the chat, Joey, that choose to ignore or they're sociopaths that are incapable of empathy and think basically, if I'm okay, that's all that matters. And I just think if we can be anything in this show, Joey, it's that we always want to be on the side of the weakest link, because we measure, like you just said, we measure ourselves by how we treat the least. And if the least are doing well, trickle down economics doesn't work. Trickle up economics is actually something that's been proven to be quite useful, valuable, and workable. If the least are doing well, it goes all the way up. Goes all the way up. If the least are doing well, everyone's doing well. If the top are doing well and the least are the most vulnerable, then you've got a pretty shitty country to sort out. And this government is going to create more of the least, because what they're bringing in, all these taxes, the conversation we had last night, Chewy, where we said, where Anna Burns-Francis on Breakfast yesterday was saying, what if people didn't read the fine print, Nicola Willis? And what if they were just thought that you guys would come along and there weren't going to be any new fees? Because yes, you didn't say there wouldn't be this, but now that there is, people are going to be worse off. Cost of living crisis, people are going to be worse off. Housing situation, emergency housing, people are going to be worse off. We have ministers in this government literally using the word austerity. That word is being used publicly